Love. Welcome to DJ Daya and his co-host DJ Emilio's Love Hour. We're about to get down and dirty tonight.
Love. Ooh. We're talking about love tonight, baby.
We're recording this on Valentine's Day, and we only thought it was appropriate to make sure the topic followed, you know?
Yes, it is an important topic. It is a topic that has been both spoken about ad nauseum, yet not nearly as enough as it should be.
I think it's one of the, like, love is, as a concept, I think is, like, it's been explored in so many different mediums by so many different, like, artists and stuff, but
yeah.
I still think that it's one of those things that, like, people have a hard time still kind of grasping, you know what I mean?
I think it's because it's one of those things that is unique, yet universal. It's one of those things that is constantly evolving, but is forever the same. You know?
It's a universal constant, but our understanding or our illustration of it seems to be very wide. You know what I mean? And across different cultures too, I think, like in different places. Anyways, we'll get into it. But before we talk about love, we gotta talk about some crazy, we gotta talk about the news cycle, baby. That's how we do it down here.
What's going on? What's the freakness this week, man? What's going on?
Dude, the freakness is a great way to describe this. I just want to get the politics shit out of the way, because we've been, obviously, like, we continue to track it because, I don't know, we live in America, and it's kind of a buck wild time. So anyways, here, if you missed it, Neera Tanden is getting sworn in. I don't remember what role. I don't even care anyways. I don't like her. From what I know, she's not appropriate for the role. I don't remember what the role is at the time. But during her her confirmation hearing, Robert Kennedy, a congressman, got to utter the words "ignorant slut" in the halls of Congress. We'll sit that clip right here.
I mean, you call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not.
Yep.
But the story is that he was Neera Tanden has a track record on Twitter of just like saying crazy shit apparently, and so like you heard in the clip, Robert Kennedy was like, "You called Bernie Sanders everything short of an ignorant slut."
It's like, homie, did you had something in there, man? Is this something that you wanted to get out? She's the nominee to head the Office of Management and Budget.
Thank you so much, Amelia. Always on the ball, baby. Always on the ball.
Try my best,
dude. It's and honestly, that actually makes sense when you think about like her adversary against Bernie Sanders, who I think is also involved in that same committee. So
he's the chairman of the budget for the Senate.
There you go. But yeah, that was I don't know. Like lately, I think politics has had this weird sensation in America where people are just saying like crazy shit. I was it you that I showed you that clip of? It wasn't Jamal Bowman, but someone was like, they just went for it. Like they just went for it, and they said some shit. You're like, wow, I would never thought that was something that you would ever utter in the halls of Congress.
Do you think that maybe like before things were recorded, people would speak like that? I don't think so, but
I mean, just talking about like historically, I've heard that Lyndon B. Johnson is very famous for, literally flashing his dick around. So I mean, crazy shit does happen in politics. Like it's not like anything new.
There you go. So I guess like back in the day when you're basically getting the news a week out from when it actually happened, because the newspaper didn't get it in time or whatever it is, then people probably said some buck wild shit, and then probably took it easy once the radio came out and things were automatic.
I mean, like,
now we're
if
back
you think about
to
the Nixon tapes, I've heard some, like, I've had a lot of inflammatory shit on them. Like,
homie, I've heard some, like, pretty horrendous. I heard some Reagan stuff that was pretty horrendous. Some pretty racist shit on there.
I mean, but what's new, right? It's America. And, talking about, like, just wild shit you can get away with in America, we are at the conclusion of the Senate trials now, and due to it not being a unanimous decision because Republicans have no spine, Trump got acquitted, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's one of those things it's really unfortunate as well because we've it was a court case that the jury was decided before it even started. Like, they were taking polls of like, how are you gonna vote, before we even saw evidence, before there was any sort of court case. So
I mean, if I had a jury of my peers that I knew were gonna vote a certain way, I'd certainly love to have them, be there for voicing their opinions. So I guess that's what Trump got. You got favoritism and nepotism and whatever type of ism will get him off. He got it. It seems like.
yeah, man. So hey, it was important for it to happen, but we continue.
As like a gesture, like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's even in terms of a gesture, it's a failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't really see that one going anywhere. But man, I can't wait to watch.
Oh, I mean, most people that were like, just like, most people that have been watching everything go down, the opinion was that nothing special was going to, like, nothing was going to sway that opinion either way, right? And honestly, I'm happy that there was 7 Republicans that did have enough spine not to be little bitches about it, and they did stand up for what was right. But, for the rest of the 43, despicable. Fucking despicable.
The only one, but there was only one of those people that were not up for re-election or retiring. So it's like...
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see...
Politics out of the way.
Let's,
Huh?
Keep it going.
Yeah, dude, 6 minutes, 30 seconds, or that's what the recording time says at least. Politics out of the way, and I didn't want to keep it any longer than that because we've done enough episode about politics for so
We're
far.
talking about love today.
I mean, we still have a few other recent news that I'd like to get through. If you haven't been paying attention to Twitter or Reddit or whatever social media you're on, there's a Gorilla Glue lady story, which is unfortunately a lady... I don't know through what mental process she jumped through, but she decided that Gorilla Glue was good for your hair or something like that. And so she put Gorilla Glue in her hair. And, I don't know if you're a surprised listener, but...
Daya,
yeah.
Are you familiar with what a chonga is?
No, what's that?
Do you know what a chonga? No? So,
no.
This is some colloquialism, some Miami colloquialism for your ass.
Oh, man.
A chonga... is a... Man, I want the Urban Dictionary for definition for this thing.
Dude, just search it. Go for it. Hell yeah.
A chonga is basically... All right, hold up. I need the word. Oh, it's a Wikipedia? Chonga is a Spanish-derived term used especially in South Florida, often to indicate a working-class, sexually liberated, very sassy and emotionally expressive young woman. Chongas are also a distinct subculture believed to have developed in Miami in the late 20th century. Dude,
all right.
A chonga, they're like, they would glue their hair, bro. Like, they would glue their hair and stuff. So it's like, Gorilla Glue lady, man, she stepped it up a notch. I'm telling you, the chongas in Miami would have been like, yo, you're using the wrong one, man. Elmer's glue or bust. Woman, like, what are you doing? She's about that life.
As someone that has long hair, I can't imagine putting anything that would make it stick together or anything like that. Sounds wild to me.
Dude,
like, I hate that.
It was the glue on the hair with the huge gold hoop earrings. And it's like extra brownie points if the gold hoop earrings have something written on them, like your name or like, like mommy or some shit, or you have your name on like the gold. I mean, a lot of people have their name on the gold necklace. But yeah, chonga. There's a great, there's a song, like a spoof of the song Fergalicious that came out, and it was Chongalicious by the Chonga Girls. You should Vera, go watch that. It's great. There's some actual Miami culture for you.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I hope that getting the Gorilla Glue out of her hair wasn't an extremely painful process, and I hope she's okay. That's all I really have to say about it. But I thought it was funny. I had to bring it up,
Yeah. How do you think? Like, do you think? I don't even know that her hair is gone. Like,
I don't know. I know that some type of procedure has gone down, from what I've heard. That's like the updated part.
Like
of the
a
story,
surgical procedure.
Yes, like she went to a doctor, and the doctor, I think they did something to figure out how to what's the word? How to make the glue soluble or whatever to try to get it out some way. So I think they figured it out, but I again, didn't read the story, just thought it was really funny, wanted to mention it. So,
wow. Well, there you go.
more on the wholesome side. Maya Higa, popular streamer. She's actually like always had this love for animals and stuff like that, but she was able to put together, like with help from other streamers as well. Like there's a whole streaming community. I would say she was able to put together $500,000 to be able to open up an animal sanctuary. And she this is something that she was very passionate about, and it's like she's talked about how it's been an end goal for her for a while. And so even though we have a small audience, I wanted to use this platform to say congrats to her for that. And I think it's really cool that there are people out there that are using their social influence for things like this. And like in terms of because she opened she basically had a 501c3 or whatever, which I think is just like a nonprofit organization. Those things are great. Like sometimes there has been accusations of people using them for money laundering and stuff like that in the past, but I don't think this is the case for her. I think she's definitely shown so much passion for this in the past, so it's really cool to see that kind of a thing happen.
Hell yeah, congrats, Maya. Also,
going to games.
Yeah. So Epic Games unveiled a new feature for their Unreal Engine that was really interesting, made some pretty big waves in the games industry. It was the Metahuman demo that they put out. And basically what this is a feature part of their engine. It's upcoming, I believe, for Unreal 5, right? This is something that's coming up for
I think so.
stuff.
I honestly didn't read as much as it sounds like you have. I've just kind of gave it a once over. I mean, from what I could gather, it seems like almost like SpeedTree, right? SpeedTree, which is a program used in a lot of engines to generate a lot of trees at once.
Yeah, through like an algorithm, right? Like it's a randomly it's a random generator, or a generator of random assets. SpeedTree being for trees and Metahuman being for people, but their claim it's really high quality, and seeing what the demo was able to do was incredible.
I think the big one for Metahuman is the fact that it's the detail part, right? Like it seems like the models they have a lot more, whether it's hair or the nose, the eyes or whatever, they seem to be nailing a lot more of those features, which is usually you have to do a lot of that stuff by hand, especially in the game industry. Most definitely,
because then you reach it's really easy to hit that uncanny valley where it's like you look at something and it's especially like a person, because our minds are built so much. We're social creatures and we're constantly looking at each other's faces and stuff, and it's such an
we're also very protective, so we can suss out small details.
Exactly. And when humans looking sus, it's like, is that a human or not? It just gets creepy and you feel bad, you feel weird inside. So it's pretty awesome to see that we're getting to that technology where at least I feel like we're gonna be able to see avatars just at a higher quality. I feel like it's gonna do a lot for character art, as far as giving a good base for character artists to build off of, for maybe not your high priority characters in a game that you might want to scan in through an actor, but background characters are going to look that much better because the base of it is going to be that much easier to make and make in a high quality, right? So pretty excited to see what that technology does.
And when a product like this comes out, that means that competitors will try to get on top of it too. So that means there's going to be a lot of people trying to either emulate the features or improve on them. So we'll probably see a lot of better crowd generation, or just general NPC generation, that being a non-player character.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty excited about that. WB.
This one's a little less exciting, honestly, man. So Warner Brothers Interactive, one of the biggest innovations I think they've brought to the game industry was with Shadow of Mordor, which is the Lord of the Rings game, which is cool, great game, obviously. But the one feature that a lot of, especially game developers, really hooked onto was the Nemesis system. The Nemesis system basically it let you generate kind of your own your own kind of relationship with certain non-playable characters in the game. They kind of built their relationships with some of their enemies, because if they died to a certain type of person, they would get promoted up this hierarchy and shit. Do you remember that at all, man?
Yeah, for sure. Nemesis system. It was honestly, I feel like one of the best pieces of design as far as storytelling in games, but in a way that is systematically built into a game. So just for people to understand, the game Shadow Mordor was a game Lord of the Rings, and you play this dude that is literally trying to topple like this orcish like war machine
kingdom hierarchy. Yeah, exactly.
And it's a military, so they have actual like ranks in the military where like, you go all the way up to your like warlord, and then he has generals under him, and whatever, and there's a hierarchy. So the game basically places these randomly generated orcs into these pieces, into these roles, and as you interact with them, they build story. So if they win in a fight against you, they'll remember that and they'll build their part of the narrative. Or if they lose to you, they'll build that, and all this is happening, and it's all randomly generated. But it actually builds the story for this game, and it's a super innovative design.
And I think it was a selling point for the game in some way because it helped the the social media buzz around it, or not even social media, just the buzz around the game in general. Because a lot of people were talking about like their individual interactions with whatever their orcs was, like their like whatever fun they had with them specifically. And it was like again, great system. I definitely see why they were trying to patent it. I don't support the idea of them patenting it, honestly, though.
You shouldn't patent designs design. I don't feel like it's something that should be patentable, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you 100% there.
It's so stifling to progress in games, man. It's like, dude, like all right, cool. You discovered something that it's like, yo, this is huge for the medium in general. Like this could be utilized in so many different awesome ways. And it's like, you're about to stifle that so you have a monopoly on the system. Are you serious?
And like, even with like, if you're trying to if you're trying to patent the system, it's like, depending on how you write that patent, won't really matter in the end, right? Because honestly, no game developer wants to wholesale copy anyone else's thing. The only thing that I can actually see it coming good out of this is if they turn it into a tool of some sort. I think that would be interesting.
Oh, interesting. So like some sort of piece of tech, like a plugin that they could sell to other studios or for the most popular engines, and then go ahead, you could build it off of what we made. I can understand.
And it'll make this like grid. You can kind of act like a grid of data you can access that shows you your hierarchy, and that can it has all the data that it needs for those different things. But even like as I'm talking about this right now with you, I can already it is a lot of data to don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to downplay the innovation here, but I do really honestly think that if you break the component down from what you see in the games, it's not that hard to reproduce that system. So I don't know. I'm with you on this one, man. Well, I don't think you should patent a design. Like it just seems weird.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I think the complexity comes from the scale in which it's being done. You know,
and that was the big thing,
and how intricate they're gonna get with each sort of element of it, right? That's where I think the complexity of it comes. It could be really simple, but it could also be extremely difficult. As a AAA game is probably going to be bound to go for. But what I don't understand with them creating it as a plugin is that it was like you were saying, bro. Like no design's going to go in and fucking just wholesale be like, dude, we're going to recreate this shit. They're going to want to make it their own. So it's like, what plugin is going to actually allow them to take the general idea of what a Nemesis system is and build it unique to their own game, right?
And if they want to sell it, there's different ways of selling it too. Like it's not like snippets of code and assets are things that are always been sold across the game industry. You can download Unity today. You can go to their website and look at the Unity marketplace for hundreds and millions of different types of implementations of so many different ideas. You can pay to just make an FPS if you want to just throw out a bunch of money out there and make a bunch of assets for a first-person shooter. You can make that happen. And so, I don't know. It just seems that the precedent doesn't allow for it, and looking toward the future, it doesn't make sense either. Yeah, no, not at all. So I don't know. I hope it's one of those things that it's like, sure, they have the patent, but it's really hard to for a court case to be like, oh, dude, they're blatantly copying us or anything like that. And I don't know. I hope to some degree that people are still going to be able to make those types of experiences and really evolve that design. Yeah. Anyways, and for our last recent news, we had unfortunately this last week, CD Projekt Red was hacked by someone trying to, they left them a README note on their internal servers, so they definitely had access somewhere, and they basically said, hey, like, we have all your data. This included source code engine, so all the stuff that makes every one of their games function. This is the same studio that's behind things like Cyberpunk, The Witcher 3, really big games in recent memory that have, some of them have really good tech, some of them don't. But it's still, like, it's kind of... It's sad to see that kind of a thing go down, because it is very they specifically said that they had access to their Perforce, which, if you don't work in the game industry, Perforce is like a tool used to kind of share assets across the different team members. So it kind of feels violating in a way. You know what I mean, man?
Yeah, and they have like also just all their HR documents, and like they have they completely went in and have access to everything, which sucks, man, because a lot of people's like actual personal data is on there, and it's like
CDPR did say that they think that not a lot of HR specific stuff got out, but I don't know, it still blows, man. Like it just sucks that as someone that's worked on AAA video games now, and I think you can agree with this, even our personal projects that we've done in academia and stuff like that, like it would just suck to know that someone got into your source code repo and like took a bunch of shit. Like it just feels gross to talk about, even almost.
It does feel gross. It actually happened to us. We were working at DigiPen. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't malicious. It was Dragon Fishing was a game that we made back in sophomore year, and on my team, and I guess in whatever submission we put into for the game gallery that all the student games would go into, I guess we left source code, and people were able to go in, and they did a live stream of going and playing all the DigiPen games, and like it was an alum, and they went into our source code, and they were like judging us and shit, but like
wild
on a professional level, that's really shitty. That's really shitty, and I don't know. I hope this thing gets resolved. I hope I don't know, man. As much as like CD Projekt Red's been like not the best company in recent memory, in my personal opinion, no one deserves this, right? Like I don't think this is a way of going about things.
And the people that would probably be considered markedly shitty, or like would be people that would be considered like not the best parts of CD Projekt Red, are going to be the people that are probably least affected by this, honestly.
Oh, 100%.
Like the people that are affected by this are people that are doing the daily art. Like they're the people that are artists that are making the models and stuff like that. Yeah. They're coders like me. They're producers like you. Like all like have paperwork and docs and stuff up on all the stuff. Those are the people whose work is most looked at and judged and out there in the wild now. And the people that make shitty decisions, like upper management, don't have any stake in any of that shit except for it being done. So
which is unfortunate too, because I feel like they're also the ones that took it, that had it the hardest. With all the ridiculousness that is the launch of Cyberpunk, and I don't know, man. I feel for those devs. Like my heart is out to each and every one of them. Well,
anyways,
speaking about hearts,
and talking about hearts, baby, talking about hearts.
Let's talk about love.
Today's main topic is about love. We did an episode about rivalry, and now we're trying to do a little more off the cuff thing again. And today's about love.
Ramblations.
So, one of the things when we were going into this episode that I thought about was one of my favorite albums of all time.
Interesting.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
For sure.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Listener, if you've never heard it, please do yourself a favor and listen to it front to back.
Great album.
And
that's a Ramblations recommendation right there. Bam,
yes,
stamp it.
Stamp of approval. Certified dopeness. Bang.
I like Ramblations recommendation. It rolls off the tongue. And it doesn't matter. Anyways, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
So the whole album is, it's really like it's an album that's dedicated to love, and it's in between. This is back when hip hop had skits, which I really miss them. But
I think like. Sidebar real quickly about this because I need to talk about this, but
Dave's got some opinions about hip hop skits.
Surprise! But I don't know. I don't think that the skit is forever gone. I think that a lot of, especially when you see people like Kendrick and J. Cole and people that are really that are afforded the ability to kind of like conceive and control where their album goes, they do have that. So the skit's not dead yet, baby.
Agreed. But anyways,
but yeah, you were saying
they had skits basically throughout, the whole album, where they had a class of students, like of young people, and they just talked about love. And that's one of my favorite ones, where it's just like, all right, like, what is, like, they just go into like, what does love mean to you? Like, what is love? Do you know any songs about love? And I don't know, I thought about it a lot in a lot of those questions. And Daya, what is love to you?
I was gonna ask you that, and now I feel like you've reversed it. You set up you did a good job of setting up the stage. So now I guess I have to topple down some dominoes.
You do.
I don't know, man.
I threw the ball up in the air for you.
Yeah, now I gotta alley-oop. Now I gotta dunk it.
Yes.
I think one of the definitions of love that has really stuck with me, and I think is a very baseline definition that I've applied to a lot of different things in my life, is, especially when it comes to a person, is when you love somebody, you want the best outcome for them, right? And I think that's a definition that's helped me guide a lot of decisions in my life, actually. It's helped me with relationships, with friendships, with brotherhood, with sisterhood. Like, I think those are the types I think that definition is something that I've even told other people when they've been in sticky situations. So I don't know if that helps,
Yeah,
what about you, man?
No, I hear that, where it's like, you want the very best of them, and especially with the huge like asterisks of like, or basically like underlying detail of, regardless of yourself, right? Regardless of you, you want the best of them. For sure, man. That's powerful. For me, love, man, like, fuck, I think you hit the nail on the head, on a very important fucking head. I think there's also the point of, love being something that you have for someone that you're also by their side, right? Like, this is when you love somebody, it's a dedication of, like, through thick and thin, I got your back,
For sure.
Like, I'm here for you, and I tell you I love you because I want you to be able to count on me when
I think that whereas I came from the idea of, like, there's this idea behind love that I would define as respect, right? You know what I mean? And I think that when my definition covers not only just like a love for yourself in terms of self-respect, but a love for someone else and respecting them and their ideas and their wishes. I think what you nailed, the important aspect of it, is companionship, right? Like, when the side of love that's about the intertwining of two people, right? And it doesn't have to be just like between like two people that are in a long-term relationship in terms of, like, marriage or something like that, but it could also be like brother, sister, that kind of thing, right? Like, it's this idea of that you stand on a common ground and are ready to tackle situations no matter what may come,
Yeah, I actually had a very interesting conversation with this with a friend of mine who she's Greek, and I saw this like meme up on Facebook or something, and I thought it was interesting because they were saying that in English we have just the word love, right? Love is love,
right?
Like, just love, and it's supposed to encapsulate all this. Even though that we know we have certain distinctions of like friendship love and romantic love and whatever, but
sure.
In Greek, there's actually 7 different types of love and different words for them. There's eros, which is sexual love; philia, which is deep friendship; storge, and if I'm sorry, my Greek listeners, I'm not Greek. I'm trying my best. Storge, which is love between parents and children; ludus, which is playful love; agape, which is love for everyone, selfless love; pragma, long-standing love; and philautia, which is love of self. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's so many different types of ways of expressing it. I think still though, like, your kind of definition of what you're saying, where it's just like just wanting the best for them, I think touches on all of those, right? Like each and every one of them, right? Like, a deep friendship is like, yo, like, I want to see you succeed, like a playful love, even like, I feel like you can express love on to people that you just met, and it's just like it's playful and it's fine, but it's like we all want the best for you, that we're enjoying this little
it's this like solid condensed piece of affection, even though it's for maybe even for like a stranger, right? Like it's the side of you that can care for a homeless person or can care for like I said, like just someone you haven't met before, like someone you have zero experience with in your life. You still can feel affectionate toward them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because just it's a little I don't know, a little bubble of a little bubble of love in your day of just like, and I think also like, I think expressing love also, it does so much for the self also, like it,
for sure,
like doing those things also. Like I remember in my psychology class in college, shout out Professor Hemovich, but she's saying that nothing is truly altruistic. No action is truly altruistic, regardless of how altruistic you really want to be about it. Because at the end of the day, you feel good about being altruistic. You feel good about doing those things, and it's like, all right, that's a hard way of looking at things. But I think more core to that, regardless of motivations or whatever it is, like I think it does hit a point of just, if you do good, you will feel good, and like. So yeah, people should love more often.
It's kind of based off that idea of when you were kids, like they tell you to treat others like you want to be treated, and I think that goes for you want to love other people like you love other people the same way that you want to be loved yourself, right? And I think that speaks to this the idea that when you are in the act of loving somebody, when you are in the act of showing affection for somebody, I think that those are the same things that you should do for yourself, because that, like, obviously love yourself, but it also means that is something that will bring you, like, I guess, in the plain chemical sense, that it's going to give you that serotonin hit, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're chemically made to express that and to feel that and be it. And it's interesting. It's actually it's really interesting to see how people that grew up without that affection, without that that very visible and physical like expression of love, kind of become as people. I was watching this movie, also a fantastic movie, Free Solo. Have you seen it?
I think I've heard of that one. There's a play. It's ringing a bell. I don't remember why.
It's a documentary about someone who, I forgot his name.
Mountain climber.
Yeah, he's a free soloist. So what that means is that he climbs basically mountains and cliffs and stuff, but without any rope, any sort of assistance whatsoever. It's just like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, like, okay. He's just climbing. And yeah, he did Yosemite. He did El Capitan, which is like apparently like the fucking the end all be all, the mega of mountain climbing. That's the one. And he free soloed it, which was super dangerous. But a piece of that movie that really stuck out to me was that he was explaining his childhood, and his mother was explaining that childhood, and there was no expression of love or affection in their family. It was just, it was very cordial, there was no expression of that. And it showed just how much it defined his character as an adult, and just like it changed him because he didn't have that. And going into a relationship, it's hard to get into that, and really, I don't know, people need this, you know what I mean? It's important.
That being said, I think that, like you expressed, there's a lot of films and cartoons and anime and a lot of other mediums that have done a lot with the concept of love. Obviously, we have a whole fucking genre about it if you think about rom-coms and romantic dramas and all that other shit.
Hell yeah.
So I think we wanted to kind of reflect on what are the types of expressions of love that we've seen in video games, right? Yeah.
I think one of the ones that recently really stuck out to me hasn't even come out yet. It was damn, I have to look up the damn name for this thing. But basically, it's a co-op game where it's basically like a romantic comedy. Oh man, It Takes Two. Is that what it is?
I think I've heard of this. I think I've seen something about this.
Yeah, so basically... Oh, yeah, it totally is. So it's basically a romantic comedy where it's like the whole concept of the game.
Oh, I remember this. Isn't this is a studio that does this type of game a lot. It's the people that made Brothers and The Way Out. It's them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically it's like it's literally a romantic comedy. It's like, all right, these two couples are having they're having some sort of struggles in their thing, and then they get turned into dolls. And then the game, through gameplay, you have to work together, and they come back to loving each other. It's a romantic comedy video game.
I think it's that type of, speaking from like a systematic or like a game design view. I think the idea of two characters either conjointly controlled together or something like that is a very common use, and I think it's always cool because those games are always designed around the challenge where you have to coordinate those two individuals, and I think it shows it's a very physical expression of the coordination it takes to be in a loving relationship of some sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's counting on each other, like truly being able to say, like we were saying, that like I have your back, like I love you, so I have your back. We trust each other to overcome something that us as individuals want to be able to overcome.
Yeah, and you've seen it for not like this game. It Takes Two specifically talks about a non-platonic, a romantic type relationship, right? But we've seen other types of relationships deal with this as well. If you like, and maybe even in a single player capacity, where you look at things like The Last of Us, where you're always usually paired with somebody, and their survival is kind of dependent on you surviving as well. Even BioShock is a good example of this in Infinite. Like they tried to express a lot with an NPC character named Elizabeth. Yeah. There's another one I had in mind too. Oh, like one of the older versions of the same type of idea was Ico or Eco or however you say it, or Horn Boy. I'll kind of call it Horn Boy.
Eco, yeah, bro. You want to explain what a Horn Boy is?
Eco is it was made by a studio that's made a lot of other famous games, including Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of my favorites. But in this game, you're a child that's been banished away from their tribe, I believe. I don't remember if that's the exact story, but you have to guide a spirit through this like haunted castle, like type situation to try to save her. And that one is a little more one-sided, where you're doing a lot of things to help this individual get to somewhere. And, same thing with like Last of Us and stuff like that, whereas like things like It Takes Two or Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time is a great example of this as well. God. Where you're co-opting them to do something. Dude, it's so cute. Like even the name, like everything about it, like Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, also Ramblations recommendation right there, baby. Go play with a friend. Have a good time.
Play with a loved one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those games, like I think that imbalance, especially in Horn Boy, we're calling it Eco Horn Boy, just deal with it. But in Horn Boy, I think there's a difference in balance, right? Like I was saying, like in Takes Two, you have this very like you are together, like this one person isn't doing more tasks than the other. But in things like BioShock Infinite and The Last Guardian, The Last Guardian's kind of different, and we'll get to it. But Eco as well, Last of Us, you're doing a lot of things to usually, like, you have to carry a lot of the burden as like the person in charge. And I think it might be because they're designed around a single player experience, but in some aspects they also use it to describe a power dynamic in a relationship, right? Like Booker DeWitt is more likely to be able to, feels like he's trying to help Elizabeth get out of a situation where she's been stuck inside of essentially a bird cage. So right, he has to help guide her through this world that she's never experienced. Yeah. And Last of Us, Joel is a father figure to Ellie, and so he has to help her get to this place that she wants to go to, right? And so like I think the power dynamic of the relationship is also revealed through the power dynamic of that loving relationship is still revealed through the mechanics of the game itself.
Yeah, for sure. Very similar to like God of War recently with like the relationship that Atreus and Kratos share. And it's interesting too because it's like, I feel like in those single player experiences, the task of the designer has a very different task of as something that's a designer that's designing for a multiplayer type of game, because it's a single player narrative based game where you're basically put into the shoes of someone, and then the narrative team has the task of having you fall in love and care about this other individual, and in you growing an affection and a care and a love for that character, you then have to go through the process of the games and the challenges of the game to, you know, basically express that love and be there for them and protect them, or whatever the game is asking you to do. And it's interesting, like, what a game that is more multiplayer focused, where it, instead of having you fall in love with a character that they're propping you up to care about, if it had you come in together with someone you already love and kind of like utilize a relationship that you have in real life within a game setting. You know what I'm saying?
I think going back to the guys that made It Takes Two and Brother, in A Way Out, they like that relationship. That the relationship in there is about two criminals who are partners in crime, and so they I guess they grow to love each other in a brotherly way in that game. I guess, or not. I don't know what the relationship is, to be honest. But at the end of it, I think, and spoilers ahead if you haven't played that game, but at the end of it, I think you have to fight each other. So I think it's like, it's interesting, even in that experience, if you brought someone in that you love, like, cause I remember playing it with friends, and so we'll get to the end and we're like, oh, this is just us shooting each other like old times. Like, this is like any other video game I played where I'm playing with a friend.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, it's how they set it up, right? Like, what kind of feeling are they trying to convey when you get to that point where you have to do that, right? They have to go against each other.
I think you talked about this. I think like you were kind of getting to this point with what you were saying earlier. But the experiences we've talked about so far are very driven, right? Like they lean much more closer to the movie side of video games than the actual video game side of stuff sometimes. Yeah. Talking more about systems that do kind of break down those aspects into a more diverse experience. You have, like, I feel like you have to look at things that are like, you know, there's visual novels out there, or a lot more like dating simulator type things, or something that are very much more about cultivating relationships. You know, notable examples include things like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon games. In some aspects, Animal Crossing.
Hatoful Boyfriend.
Which one? Which one is it?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Hatoful Boyfriend. The dating simulator where you're dating pigeons.
Oh, I didn't know about that one. That sounds funny.
It does. I mean, hilarious.
There's the one. In terms of funny marketing projects, KFC put out "I Love You, Colonel Sanders." There's
oh, God, dude. They came out with they came out with a damn, like, I think it's Hallmark, like a Hallmark romantic movie where.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Colonel
about
Sanders,
that.
played by Mario Lopez, goes in and he's the new chef of some fucking mansion, and there's a like. It's and a romantic he learns about drama.
Dude, okay, all right. I watched a video about this movie because I was like... but no, like, I had to, like, some guy was breaking it down, and I was like, yo, I have to sit through this video. I have to know what goes on through this movie, right? And at one point, he has, like, this notebook, right? In it, he has his secret 36 spices and herbs recipe for the shit. And he's like, this is my dream. I want to open a franchise with this type of recipe. And that's what the ending of that movie is. And I'm just like, yo, they spun up a canon where the man had a romantic fallout, and that's how he decided to make his fucking recipe and shit. Like, what the fuck is going on?
One of the ingredients is love. Spoiler. One of the secret herbs and spices is love. Oh my god! Wow.
I think also those games, going back to like the diversity they kind of display in terms of like what we were talking about when we were kind of defining love. Whereas, like I said, things like Last of Us or It Takes Two are very driven experiences. The cool thing I think about dating simulators or a visual novel or any of those like type of like very talk heavy RPGs. Mass Effect is a great example of this too, right? Is they, even though they do still boil down a relationship into just a few decisions, sometimes they do still let you explore the ability of having, you know, someone that you love, like turning down someone that used to love you, and like learning what the consequences of that kind of stuff is, or, you know, the like trying to foster a friendship with somebody after you've rejected, that kind of stuff. And I think that's always like, I think that was stuff that I wish was explored more sometimes. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, where it's just like it's very straightforward with some of these projects, and yeah, that love and kind of the effects of what love will cause in your relationships with different people, will cause so many different types of very fucking different experiences, a lot of pain, a lot of longing, a lot of whatever it is, the side effects of love, dependent on your situation for the one that you're loving. And yeah, that is really interesting content to explore.
And some of them even do things like Catherine's a great example where they will talk about like messing around in a situation where you are in love with somebody and maybe, you know, they're not the right person for you or something like that, and trying to find something, getting out of the relationship and shit like that, and expressing it through like it's weird because that game is two games, right? There's the talking simulator part of it where you're like doing all the relationship stuff, and then there's a platform about how you're having nightmares about how the relationship's not working out and you're trying to climb a mountain.
It's a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, Atlas, man, you gotta love them. Yeah, it's interesting. Thinking back now on like the whole multiplayer kind of like where it's just the players and what they bring to the table as like in their own personal experiences. I actually think that like board games probably have a leg up, I think, actually on video games in this aspect, just because kind of it's
okay.
They're games where the mechanics are laid out and, you know, you take it as it is. There's a card game that came out recently. My sister's a huge fan of it. She literally takes it wherever she goes. It just pops it out on people. But it's called We're Not Really Strangers. Let me make sure I'm saying that. We're Not Really Strangers. But basically it's a card game that's meant to deepen and enrich relationships. So you bring it out and it's like a series of questions that'll have you express certain things, right? And it's like there'll be questions like let me find some examples, but yeah, like what would you like to learn? Here's one. Like what can I help you with? Who would I remind you of? Like each player write a message to the other, fold and exchange, open only once you two have parted. Like a game where the mechanics are built on taking the love that people have or just building on the relationships that people have, and like that is the mechanic of the game is
wild.
What is our actual relationship, right? And it's going to be completely different from any people that play it, right? Yeah,
I think based on that same idea, they're like, I think about a lot of the RPG sessions I've been a part of, right? I play a lot of tabletop RPGs in my free time, and I think that, I mean, love is sometimes it's not like a huge motivator, right? Like it's because, you know, when you're playing a tabletop RPG, you can kind of decide to go wherever the fuck you want depending on what your game master does for you, right? But I played in a lot of different groups where the love is an aspect that they want to explore, even if it's not like with the player that might be playing their actual partner in real life, right? Like they want to try to express a connection between two different characters that they've come up with, and I think that's always been an interesting exercise in terms of not just like empathy, but like we were saying, like finding, like, not only does it let you get more into your own character's head, because like we said earlier, you have to kind of understand how you want to love other people and to understand how to love yourself sometimes. I think it expresses that fact, right? But you have to build on this, like, this kind of scale. You have to kind of widen out yourself, and you have to just explore what your character is looking for and seeing if any other person's character is actually providing that in some way, which is always like a kind of a wild experience and very telling of yourself as a person that is playing the game, and also very telling of it's very telling of yourself, but it's also like telling of the character you're trying to create, and you're trying to like maybe even understanding a different type of love that you don't really care for in real life. You know
Interesting.
what I mean?
So basically the DM, the dungeon master, they create NPCs that able to love, and they create a situation for you to kind of like explore those kind of themes. Is that what it is?
Sometimes some people do that. I don't think that's ever been something that I've done or like with any of the people that I've played, but I've definitely seen it like done before. And like, you know, there's a lot of podcasts and stuff out there now that are reliant on RPGs and RPGs mechanics to be able to tell a story. And that's probably a common thread that I've seen, right? But I'm talking about like even like sometimes even within a group, because you know you'll have a party of 6 people, for example, like and 2 people make characters that like, oh, like we do want to eventually have these characters fall in love with each other, like even if it's just for fun, right? Yeah, and in that scenario, like I was saying that like now the love aspect of things, like you have to understand what you're like I said, you have to understand what your character wants and what they're looking for in other people, and how those 2 things mix together versus what the other person wants as well, right? And so you kind of do this like character building for 2 individuals at once, kind of in a weird way.
Interesting.
I think it speaks to this thing that you've expressed before. I'm not sure if it's been on the show or not, but like in general, in conversation between us, we've talked about how games and game systems can reflect empathy. Like we make empathy machines in some aspect, right? Yeah. And I think it's when you do it in that tabletop scenario where it's very expressionful, like it's very much just an expression at that point, right? Like you are just literally play acting a type of thing that you may not even experience yourself, but it was just something that you find interesting, or like a type of thing that you've seen other people maybe, right? Like it's almost like a psychological study in some aspects, right? You are trying to understand that, like, if I make a character that's very dark and brooding, very much unlike me, I have to also understand what that dark and brooding version of love looks like, right? It's very opposite of how I might express it in real life.
And it's cool. It's also really awesome because it gives you the space and like a safe space to be able to express and explore a certain emotion that you normally wouldn't in your certain life. Like all right, so like if you know 2 friends are playing in the same play group, and you know like you're playing as true role playing is that you're not putting yourself in it. This is your character, and you're trying to get into the mind of what your character is and live through them. And it's interesting because it's like they have their own set of perceptions, and it's a completely different reality than for what you're living. So it allows you to explore in a very safe space what that kind of love would be like. And that kind of relationship.
And like you said, just jacking up that empathy meter, right? Like it's really, you're literally trying to, like, empathy, as I understand it, is the idea that you can feel for someone else's feeling, like what they are going through, right? And so when you're doing it in the expression of RPG, especially for like things like love or fear, even anger, any of these types of emotions, right? When you're doing it in a tabletop RPG, you have to have some type of understanding of it to be able to play it properly, even if it's just for an enjoyment or like making good story. You still have to understand it to be able to portray that properly.
For sure. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Games matter. We yeah. They explore so much. Yeah, that's cool. Daya, here's a thing about love. What has been in your? Because I feel like there's so many different ways of expressing love, and I think they're all important. You know, big or small. What's a recent time that you expressed love that you think back on and you're like, I don't know. I feel like people should express love regularly.
This is a good one. No, I like this. I think this is a great way to end the segment too, because I think we're getting up on time. So I think it's a good way to talk about, like, kind of bring wholesale, like bring it all together. Yeah. You know, obviously, like, it's Valentine's Day, and I think I want to express love. Obviously, I love my mother. She's like, and I've spent a lot of time with her recently because, you know, quarantine and shit like that, and we've been snowed in, right? It's been kind of snowy weather here in the greater Seattle area, and so I don't know. It was funny yesterday. I was finishing up a book, and me and my mom are kind of separate human beings. She loves to watch TV. I love to be on the computer and play video games. But I sat down next to her, and she looked at me. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to read my book." And she's like, "Why are you reading it here?" And I was like, "I don't know. I want to read it I want to be here with you. I want to share this space." And she was like, "Damn, thank you. Aww. I appreciate that." And that felt good. That felt good.
Yeah, the antisocial party, right? Like, it's like, let's be antisocial together.
For sure.
Yeah, that's nice, man. That's nice. Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with my family, thankfully, because we work from home, and I feel like every time I spend time with different family members, like it's just kind of couch surfing in Jersey and just spending time with each one of them. And I feel like every time I go to a different one, it's like a different mode and just try to express love to that person. I was at my sister's recently, and yeah, it's just small things. It's having the pleasure of like, yo, like I'm gonna buy you food, you know, and I know you guys are usually picky and you eat this certain way, so I'm gonna bring some little excitement, or like, or a bunch of hot sauces, and I was just like, we're gonna have fun with this, you know, like let's go through. I was with my uncle. I was just like, look, this is the hottest one, and I was just like, yo, we're trying them all. So he'd just be playing Call of Duty, and I'm just like pouring a dab of hot sauce of each, like 8 different ones, and I'm just like, yo, what's this one? He's just there like, oh fuck, that one hurt, or like, yo, that was really good. And it's just sharing that moment is like that. I feel like for me, there's different love languages, and I feel like quality time and gifts are definitely my biggest ones of how I express my love. And recently
I think that's a common thing we share, especially with the quality time thing, because I think in some aspects Rambulation is definitely an expression of our love for each other.
Hell yeah. Tell your friends they love them, man. I love you, Daya.
Yeah, honestly, you know, we like to give our form of homework and dope shit to check out. We really don't care if you don't do or don't check it out, right? But, you know, here's something if you were to follow through on, we would respect you, is, you know, if you're listening and you're here, doesn't matter if it's in the future and it's not Valentine's Day, it doesn't matter, right? After this episode ends, text somebody, tell them you love them. Just do it. Yes. Whatever. Out of the blue. I promise it'll pay out for you in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Someone that you've been wanting to tell for a while, that you just, whatever it is, or someone that you, I don't know, even like you truly feel it and it's just like not a normal part of your relationship. Go for it, man.
Even if it's somebody you've said to 100 times before. I tell my friends I love them all the time. I will text them at odd hours of the night and just be like, hey, I'm really thankful you're my friend. And they'll be like, oh, thank you. It's just it feels good. It just feels good. It feels good to say it, and it feels good to hear it, you know?
Yeah, so spread it. My friend, let's move on to the dope shit to check out.
Hell yeah. Dope shit to check out.
Ramblations.
You want to start with this one, or do you have anything in mind? I have one in mind, but I mean, we can go either way.
Yeah, I just experienced mine.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. I knew this was coming.
Yeah. Let's watch a movie, starring Daniel
Coulier, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Coulier, yeah. And
Lakeith Stanfield.
And Lakeith Stanfield. This is Judas and the Black Messiah. This is a movie about Frank Hampton and
Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton. Thank you very much. Wow. You know what's fucked up, man? I watch movies and I play games, all this shit. Yo, as a person that's pretty social, I fuck up. I don't. Dude, I could play a fucking 40-hour game and I won't know what the fuck the name of the characters are. Like,
bro, last week I forgot how to say school, bro. Like, whatever, bro. Last time we were recording this, I forgot how to say the word school. You're fine. Trust me, bro.
This is a movie about Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers, and specifically the Black Panthers from Chicago. And the story specifically, basically through the perspective of a man who joined the Black Panthers as an FBI informant, and kind of the relationship that they build and all that. It's I highly recommend the movie, but I also got to say that like this is I left that movie with a feeling that I haven't gotten from a film in a while, which is I think disgust, and just I did not feel good after watching that. But it's one of those things that you're glad you watch it, and they're enriching in your life and give you a perspective that you know you need. And this is why these mediums are important. This is why art's important, because they give you the truth of what's going on, or at least a different perspective from something that you might have not ever had. But yeah, watch it. The associating soundtrack's also very good. The like,
oh yeah, I heard some good. Like, isn't Nas on?
Nas on it, man. Dude, there's a lot of people on there, man. It's a
dope.
It's a great album.
Like I said, dope shit to check out, baby. Yeah. Just it's the namesake right there.
Daya, what you got?
You know what? I'll give you a twofer. I'll balance out the gloom with a little bit of lighthearted fun. If you got an Amazon Prime account, you should check out on Prime Video. There's a short film. It's about an hour long called "The History of Time Travel." Ooh. This is what I was telling you about earlier, Amelia, when we were chatting. It's very interesting. It starts off like a History Channel documentary and then just takes a hard left turn at one point. And you're like, yo, what is going on here? Nice. Great movie. Check it out.
Nice.
I think but as a tandem piece to Judas and the Black Messiah, this is something that me and Amelia actually got to go watch together at the, what's the name of the theater again?
Oh, the freaking, wow.
It's the Pacific? Cinerama. It's the Cinerama.
The Cinerama Theater in Seattle, Washington. Beautiful theater.
I'm so sad. You know, COVID's taking a hard hit on the theater, but it was struggling before then too.
Did it close?
I hope that it comes back. It did close. It did close. The property's still there. They didn't tear it down or anything, as far as I know. But you know, it's there. It's still kind of up in the air what's going to happen with it. But
yeah, that's a beautiful theater. Save the Cinerama.
Yeah, the movie that I was trying to reference is me and Amelia both went to see Black Klansman there at one point. So like I think it's a great tandem piece. Again, also a little more lighthearted in some ways compared to from what I'm hearing about Judas and the Black Messiah. But I think like it's a good recommendation as well.
Definitely more lighthearted. I think Spike Lee did an incredible job of having really good comedic relief to help you like get through some of the heavy shit that was going on in that movie.
Throwing so many references to blaxploitation and a very interesting era of cinema that I feel like isn't talked about as much anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like honestly, like, because I feel like more and more films like that are coming out, which I'm very grateful for, considering all of the movements that have been happening recently and really a push for true reform. It's important, man. It's important. It's one of those things that I feel like it's really easy to, if you're not directly affected by, you know, the oppressity of the system, it's very easy to just become complacent and just get distracted by everything else and not be a part of the solution. And I think it's also one of those things where it's like there are things that you can do, small things that you could do to just help, and really educating yourself and at least being aware and opening yourself up to that different perspective is what I feel like all of us can do. So yeah,
knowledge is true power, baby. Knowledge is true power.
Yeah, and there's power in the people. That was pretty much the message of that film. Yeah, where there's people, there's power. So Ramblers,
and with that,
we love you. We love each and every single one of you.
We're 9 episodes in, listener, and we, like always, you know, especially because it's Valentine's Day, like we said, we love you. But on top of that, like, thank you for always coming back and listening to more. Make sure to subscribe or follow or whatever. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. Make sure to do all that. If you like the stuff you're hearing, make sure to retweet or comment or something. You know, we've heard a lot of feedback, and I think we've done a lot to improve the show. And obviously, like, it's like a pendulum. It swings a little bit, and we're not always going to hit the quality bar, but we're trying our best. And I think that we've gotten, if you listen to this and listen to one of the things we did way back in the day before we even had a name for the show, like we've come leaps and bounds.
Most definitely. So,
and we want to continue the journey. So, but for now,
sayonara, my friends.